everyone. Jonathan Brant, Go Out Living Shorts. I was on my walk this morning and I started thinking about go home and rest. Now, I know every one of you out there has got that advice from a doctor go home and rest. And I just kept going over it in my head, and I just do not like the saying. Like I don't believe it works. I believe I believe it actually is opposite of healing. The reason I believe this is from my own experiences. And a lot of you know I've been through cancer treatment and it's been a little rough the last several years, but throughout most of my treatment, I did a lot of physical activity. And to me, keeping keeping physically strong helped me get through a lot of my treatment. Now, for example, going through chemo, I was doing upwards of 20 miles of cardio a day. I was doing strength training, pretty much anything I could do just to keep my fitness up because I felt like that would help me get through the day, get through the treatment, get through it as strong as I could be. And then I got to the point where I had to do my stem cell transplant. And in the hospital, I spent 2 weeks in the hospital. Leading up to the transplant, I was able to walk around, and I would walk quite often. And then after the transplant, they would do orthostatic blood pressures, which is you're lying down, they'll take it, you sit up, and then you stand up, and they'll take it at all three levels. Well, if there's a big difference in those blood pressures, you have an issue in their mind. And if you fail that orthostatic blood pressure, you're basically bedridden. You can move around with somebody, but for the most part, you were stuck in bed. And like I said, leading up to that point, I was very physical. I was getting a lot of activity. Then when I got put in bed, it all stopped. I couldn't walk. I couldn't, I would walk to the bathroom and that was about it, and then back. And within days, I mean, I'm talking only 2, 3 days, I could tell how much weaker I was. I mean, it was a struggle to get to the bathroom. It really was. Trying to, even think about going out and going for a walk wasn't really on my mind at that point. So for me, I went from feeling pretty good. Yeah, I was still having to go through treatment. I was still doing the chemo in the hospital, but I was still going and getting my walks in. So I still felt pretty strong until I got put in the bed and I couldn't do any more physical activity. And then I came out of that. Like I said, I was in there for 2 weeks. And wow, it was a struggle. I mean, I had never felt so weak in my life. There were times I just have to rest. I would just stop and rest and hope to God I didn't go to the ground, sort of situation. Uh, I slowly was able to get my strength back. It took a long time though. It was not a situation that I would want anybody else to go through. So the question comes back to, what do we do? Do we listen to our doctor? Do we go home and rest? Or, in my mind, and from what I've been through, do we try and go home and be as active as we can? I know there's going to be certain situations where you just can't do it. I get it. Been there. But if it's long term, it's one thing. Okay, I got, a cold or something like that. That's not a good excuse, by the way. But if it's something that the flu and you really need to just lay in bed and rest for a day or two, I get it. We're talking long. I'll bring it back to possibly even cancer treatments. I will argue, and this is coming from, again, somebody that's gone through the treatments. and everybody's is different, I get that, but going through cancer treatments, also being a personal trainer, coming from the medical world as a CNA, watching patients, and then being a patient, I am telling you, not having any activity is not gonna help you through whatever you're fighting. It's just plain and simple. Another example, a lot of you know I had surgery over the summer. I was put on weight restrictions. Now, a lot of folks probably go, "Okay, you really can't do anything." I was told 5 pounds, I believe, to start. I can pick up a can of something. Don't push it with, I pushed it probably with a gallon of milk sort of situation. But it's a good excuse to not do anything physical, right? After coming from the bone marrow transplant and the experience I had with that of not having any physical activity, I was not going to let that happen to me. And one of the first conditions of actually getting out of the hospital was, we need you to walk around. So almost immediately, once I woke up from the surgery and they told me that, I was up and walking those halls. Like I said, got put on the restrictions. Easy enough to say, nope, not going to do it. Don't need to. They told me I can't. So done. Not going to do anything physical. Again, not a good answer. In my mind, not a good answer. So I started walking. That's when I really got into walking because guess what? I'm not carrying anything. I'm not going against that weight restriction in any way. As I was able to lift more, I could do more. I started with 5 pounds of dumbbells or a kettlebell. I usually used a kettlebell. And then I gradually would increase that. And finally, I got to a point where, okay, we're up to 35 pounds. I started also using a weighted vest when I was walking. Because again, there are ways. If you have a strong mind and you put yourself into a situation where I need to get stronger, even if you're on something like a weight restriction, you can do it, folks. Your mind is an amazing thing. Take advantage of that. Set those goals, set those SMART goals. Don't let weight restrictions or whatever the doctor tells you to set you back. Find a way. Don't let it be a way out. And that's the other thing you can talk to the doctor about. When they say, go home and rest. Why? What can I do? Ask the questions. Be specific. Can I walk around? Can I get on a bike? Being physically fit while fighting whatever you're fighting, a disease, treatment, a cold, is so important. So don't let go home and rest stop you from being a stronger you. Like I said, as I moved up, I started increasing my weight. I started wearing that vest. And I started with just the vest. I think I started at 5 pounds. And I slowly worked my way up. And when I got off the restrictions, okay, I did something pretty stupid. I tried to go do a pull up. God, that hurt, by the way. It really hurt. I'm probably pretty lucky I didn't do any damage. But the rest of it, I was doing pretty good. I was taking it slow. But while I was doing that, I was keeping my strength up and I was actually increasing my strength. You can do that. And I think it's so important for your overall health, whether you're battling or not. Really, in your mind, does it sound right? Does it sound like good advice? Go home and rest. I argue it's not the best advice in the world. I really do. And that's coming from, again, my experience from being in the hospital and not being able to walk or do any physical activity. Two, okay, maybe overdoing a little bit, but maintaining my physical fitness while I was going through treatments. It's also the experience that I saw as a CNA in the hospital with those folks that would not move, would not get out of bed. Guess what? They were weak. They couldn't do many things. I felt scared for them to go home because if they couldn't get up and even walk to the restroom, what were they going to do when they went home? So again, does it sound like good advice? Go home, lay down and rest. I don't like it, but that's my opinion. All right, folks, that's all I got today. That's the one that was annoying me. So thank you guys for listening. Hey, send me some comments. I'd love to hear what you got to say. Uh, again, I truly believe in keeping fit. So, all right, thanks again. Remember, find the attitude, keep the attitude. Go out living.